This is Reality Dispatch, written by Jim Mins.
He had never been more afraid than he was in the minutes that passed while Annalise Snowden stalked the cubicles of the boys' bathrooms. She was his pet project. She had warned him months in advance that Roger was hers for the taking, that he had a date with the bowl for a flushing. It was the kiss of death in Park City High School. No one wanted to have their heads shoved down the inside of a 45-year-old toilet bowl and have the crusty waters that flowed from the outer porcelain poured over their hairline while a rabid fist held onto the back of one's neck and pushed the throat down on the rim line where a million buttholes had hovered. It was a double assassination, the death of one's character and dignity, along with the death of one's reputation. He had locked himself in the last stall as he ran off. He was naive to think she wouldn't venture inside to ensnare him. He listened as she kicked open each cubicle door. "I'm going to find you, Dayton," she would yell. "Kick, your day has finally come. Kick, I'm going to pound your head into that bowl, you little fucker. Kick." He raised a leg and rested on the closed seat. Between each kick, he raised the other to mask any sound his movement would make. He swallowed a large load of saliva that had built up in fear, timing the force of it down his esophagus with each kick of the cubicles. He figured he had 15 to 18 left before she reached his. He wished he had chosen the football locker rooms. There was always a jock in there, someone to chase her out and save him from the inevitable. He prayed for the bell. Kick. The pounding drew closer. She had ceased her provocations and was kicking impulsively, the anger seething as she wondered if he had achieved the impossible and escaped her wrath yet again. "Kick! I can hear you breathing, panting like a little bitch," she yelled. "Oh God, Jesus, please let me get out of this," he prayed to himself. Kick! She was 2 cubicles away. The bell rang. The angelic chimes like the Tower of Notre Dame. Hope rang through his chest with every decibel. He clenched his praying hands harder together. "Thank you, God," he said. "Kick! You ain't getting away that easy," she yelled, panicked at the reduction in time for her proposed torturous morning. The cubicle door shuddered as her blow was met with the force of the lock. "I knew it, you little bitch," she yelled as she pounded the sole of her foot on the flat of the door like the barrel of a cannon going off again and again. "You think you can avoid me forever? Ain't nothing going to save you," she yelled. "Nothing." She timed her blows with every adjective. "Out! Out! Get out!" "Leave me alone," he yelled back. There were footsteps accumulating, students who had gathered into the wash basins as if it were a communal bathhouse. The older students had gathered to trade papers and use the facilities, boys sharing stories that they found unfit for female ears. The mass around the cubicles grew larger. Annalise did not break her focus. She had waited too long to seek revenge on the Dayton boy. He needed to pay. Nothing would stop her. Not 1,000 boys all gathered. Not 1,000,000. "Get out!" she continued to yell. "Check it out, Snowden. The fuck you doing in here?" Derek Sonoris berated. "Get the fuck out," he continued. She broke her gaze from the door momentarily and faced the student 2 years her senior. He stood over her in anticipation of a confrontation he was sure he would suppress. His smirk was met with a heavy fist that was tighter than an overpumped basketball. His nose was shattered in 4 places, the reconstruction taking the better part of 24 months and at enormous family expense. As he lay on the tiled floor, the boys who had gathered stood back, eager not to become the wrath of the one who had put down the dreaded Sonoris. Annalise returned her fury to the locked cubicle. She gave 3 quick kicks in small succession. The lock began to cave, and it became clear that it would not hold much longer. She kicked twice more, and the ring of the metal on tile rang out as it bounced to the floor. The door swayed open to show Roger sitting in a fetal ball on top of a toilet seat with the lid down. He had his face buried in his knees, not wanting to look up at his tormentor. She stepped inside and grabbed him by the back of the neck and drew him to his knees. Roger walked the barbed wire that lined the visitor entrance and stood in line with the other families ready to be scanned for the weekend visits. Mothers stood with their young, keeping them in line while an unsympathetic staff observed the screens with blank faces and cold stares. Everyone was a smuggler in their eyes. All were carrying contraband. Roger was led with the others into the mess area where seats were bolted into the ground. All the chairs were white-colored, except for those who were inmates. They were to remain in the seats painted red. Roger held out his arms to embrace his brother and was berated by a nearby guard to remain with his arms by his side. "No touching!" Charlie sat down with Roger and gave his little brother a wink. "What you doing here, Rog? You know I don't like you seeing me up here. Just call me if you need me," he said. Roger smirked. He was happy to hear his older brother's voice. "I wanted to run something past you," he began. "Do you remember Annalise Snowden?" he asked. "Nope." "She was in my year at Park City." Roger looked at him for recognition. "So what?" "So she died last week," Roger said, still looking in his brother's eyes for recognition of the name. "So what?" Charlie said. "So, you don't remember?" "No, I don't," Charlie said. "She attacked me every day at school, every single day." Charlie shrugged, said I was her special project. Charlie shrugged again. "She hated me so much because of you. I found out years after we had graduated. She hated you, but she couldn't get to you, so she got to me." "Why did she hate me so much?" Charlie asked. "Because you had taken her older brother away from their family," Roger said. "What?" "You got him involved in your little criminal scene. The kid never came home at night, and it was tearing their family apart," Roger explained. "Well, cry me a river." "What am I supposed to do with this, Roger?" "Please," Charlie said. He was eager to leave. "There was a day at school when she cornered me in the cubicle, and the entire school turned out to see me have my head shoved down the bowl." A glint of recognition entered Charlie's eyes. "Her?" "Yes, her." "Wow!" Charlie laughed. "Well, good riddance," he said with a smile. "You don't feel bad?" "Not in the slightest," Charlie said. "Roger, I've done a million bad things to a million different people, but saving my little bro from a public humiliation? No way in hell do I feel bad about that. No way in hell. So you do remember?" Roger said as he turned his gaze to the sterile floor, stained in Dettol cleaning fluid. "What did I say?" "Of course I do," Charlie said. "Good." Roger stood to leave. His visit had ended. "That's it?" Charlie protested. "Yeah, that's it. I wanted you to remember, and you do. That's it." Roger walked to the wired door and pounded for the attention of the guards. Annalise grabbed the top of Roger's hair and held his head in both her hands. Her sheer strength that had raised him high off the toilet seat held him down with his knees resting on the tiles. The boys watched on gleefully, expecting another violent outburst, akin to the one delivered on the Kingpin Sonorous. Charlie Dayton emerged from the sea of misshapen ties and barged his way into the cubicle. He grabbed Annalise by the hair and held her scalp in a state that can only be described as excruciating. Her screams echoed off the walls, loud enough to be heard above the chimes of the second bell that rang out to announce the start of homeroom. Roger slipped away from the melee, not wanting to be a witness to the brutality he knew his brother was capable of. Ashamed of the Dayton surname and what it meant to certain circles within the school and outside, the name that would take his fierce efforts to wipe the slate clean and give it some respectability. That day wouldn't come for many years. Instead, it was mud, tied to the assault of a teenage girl in the stalls of a boys' bathroom inside Park City High School. Roger exited the bathrooms as the screams continued their echo.
For more stories of fact-based fiction, head to jimmins.substack.com.